Hi, I'm Carol with the Aphasia Recovery Connection. I just got off a call with 50 people with aphasia. Some from strokes, some had primary progressive aphasia, but what they all had in common was the frustration of living with aphasia. Normally on Sundays, I do an open chat program for virtual connections. And they practice talking and we do breakout rooms. Today, they wanted to have their voices heard in the mix of what is aphasia. Lots of people, lots of media, people are saying aphasia's this, aphasia's that. There's a lot of confusion lately. And they wanted their voices to be heard. So I took notes, 2 pages worth, and I promised them I would share their voice with you. They wanted you to know that aphasia is diverse in its form and how it presents. No two people with aphasia are ever exactly the same. It's a language impairment that can affect speaking, reading, writing, or understanding. Maybe just one of those things, maybe all of those things, maybe a little of one, maybe a lot of all four. No two are the same. One of the members said that she wanted not only the public to learn, but even nurses and psychologists and others to try to learn more about aphasia, not just in a textbook, but from real people with real aphasia, like what we do with Aphasia Recovery Connection or our program that we do with Lingraphica Virtual Connections. They wanted you to know that if they have aphasia, they really do appreciate you communicating with them in a quiet place without a lot of background noise and distraction. They said they sometimes get frustrated because others try to put words in their mouth and interrupt them a lot. They don't like that. They wanted to let you know that this is not like a mental issue, it's an issue with language. And for most people, it does get better. So, the majority of people with aphasia, the intellect or cognitive abilities are not affected. But there are a minority of people in the population of people that have aphasia that may have some cognitive issues due to a degenerative issue in the brain, in the language center. So aphasia is always a language issue, but it depends how somebody got the language issue that we look at how it's treated and what the outcomes may be. No two are the same, and they're very concerned that there's a lot of blanketed statements or generalizations. And even in the discussion that I had with them, we realized how hard it is to really define what is aphasia, because their aphasia is different than somebody else's. No two are the same. That kept coming back time and time again. Help people with aphasia with visuals or pictures. Somebody shared, we may ask you to slow down, but slow does not mean stupid. They also shared that their hearing is not impaired. Sometimes when a person has aphasia, other people, when they talk to them and don't get a good or quick response, the other person starts to talk louder, thinking that they weren't heard. The reality is, a person with aphasia needs more time to process the information. Yelling does not help. Somebody actually who has PPA, primary progressive aphasia, with a background in social work shared this. She said, aphasia is hard to cope with. You can laugh or you can cry. But I choose to laugh. So she works hard on trying to cope with the aphasia that she's faced with. They also wanted you to know that aphasia is very, very frustrating. That talking used to be easy, but now finding words may be difficult. Sending a text might be impossible. Ordering a cup of coffee or saying, I love you, might be hard. Imagine if your language was taken. There are various levels of severity, and for many people, they find it at times depressing and lonely. Progress from aphasia can be painfully slow. Many of them are in speech and language therapy. They make gains, but it's so slow. But they also use strategies. There were many people on the call today that struggled to speak. But one pressed a button and had audio share what he wanted to share. Somebody else struggled to say what they wanted, but they were able to type it. What I love is when 50 people with aphasia get together and someone struggles to speak, this is what I hear. 50 people being silent, not interrupting, being patient and kind. People with aphasia said that they often feel judged. They feel dismissed ever so quickly. They said aphasia can be embarrassing, very isolating, and often a loss of friends. One of the gentlemen typed in the chat, aphasia pisses me off. People just don't take the time to understand aphasia. We need you to understand aphasia. There are so many people in your community living with aphasia. There are more people with aphasia than Parkinson's or muscular dystrophy. So I hope that their voice will help you have a better understanding of what aphasia is. I learned about aphasia when my son, David Dow, had a stroke when he was only 10 years old. He lost about 3/4 of the left brain. One doctor told me to put him in a nursing home. David had global aphasia. No reading, no writing, no spelling, no understanding, no talking. It was all gone. But David went to speech therapy for 15 years. Today, David talks, he reads, he writes, he understands. David drives a car. David lives independently. And it was because of our family's experience that David wanted to start the Aphasia Recovery Connection, a nonprofit organization. Because we know all too well how frustrating and isolating this language disability is. In fact, there's one study that showed that out of 60 different conditions, the one that had the biggest impact on quality of life was aphasia. So thank you for taking the time to listen to this video on behalf of those 50 people with aphasia from around the world. We had people from the United States and Canada, and even someone joined us from Israel. And they wanted you to hear their voice and their message in the mix of what everybody's talking about, aphasia. Thank you. Bye now.